Hey everybody, it's Master Gardener Bernie Delaney back for another edition of It's Not Work, It's Fun. Yes, I am a Master Gardener. I'm a professional gardener and a horticulturalist as well. And good standing member of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, a fair judge, a lot of stuff. So anyway, I won't go through the whole list. I've got a couple different plants here. One of them is a real nice zucchini plant, and two different kind of pepper plants, several different kinds of, well, let me see, let me hold this up here, okay. There's a couple different kinds of, there's cherry tomato and beef master tomato in there. And then there's one, okay, believe it or not, this is, okay, now, the reason that I let a bunch of these in these pots, most of them are planted. This is zucchini, and this is right here, this is an ornamental pepper plant. I'm not going to take that one out, but I am going to take out the big zucchini plant. The reason I put them into pots and kept them in there, just a couple of them, is simply because I decided that I wanted to have them for the camera to show. Okay, so now I gotta start my clock here, forget about that. And at any rate, I'm gonna let that one go. I'm gonna just put this down here, I guess. Alright, so, and then I have, okay, this is zucchini right here. Okay, I'm gonna take that one out, not right in front of you, not right now. And this is an ornamental pepper plant. These are two different kinds of tomato plants. One is cherry tomato, one is beef master. Those are the ones that get really big. And this is a regular, this is called a Anaheim pepper. The reason, again, that I did this is because I wanted to show these on camera without having to go out into the garden. This right here, I'm going to hold this over this. It's going to drip in here. This is just your regular marigold. All of these that are from seed. And by the way, these little red things in here, those are the petals of geranium. And what I'll do is I'll plant these in a flower bed after this demonstration. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to make sure that I showed you is this right here. Okay, this is just one of the beginning leaves off this zucchini. And it really doesn't matter whether it dies or not, so I'm just going to take that off. Okay, I'm just going to lay that down here. It really doesn't matter. That was one of the original plants, leaves that came out. They call it the starter plant, or the true, they're not the true leaves. They're called the beginning leaves, okay? And this has already got fruit in it. Zucchini, you might say. And then I wanted to make sure that I showed you all the roots growing through the bottom, okay? Now, one of the reasons that's really good is because when this plant gets finally planted in a bed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate a couple. There's 3 plants in here. There's actually 4. And each one will have a good chunk of root left on it, so that when I plant it in the bed, and I'm going to trim these roots down too, what's going to happen is they're going to take off and the whole thing is going to get about 3 times as big. Now I have these just as you can see, just little tiny containers. And one of the things that is okay is just, these were sitting outside. I grew these underneath plant lights inside. That's why they're so big. They were started, I actually started them the day after Christmas. One of the reasons they're so big is because they had heat on the bottom, which peppers like. All right, maybe it's just a little easier. They had heat on the bottom and the lights from the top. And what happened was the lights were way down low, and then as the plant got bigger, I grew it up and I raised the light, okay? Now, I do have a greenhouse. Right now, it's kind of in shambles. It has to be repaired. It's an older greenhouse. I've had it for almost 10 years now. And yeah, things happen. The studs break, and things happen. They get in disrepair just like a regular house does. It all has to be fixed up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this entire thing, when I plant this, I'll take this entire thing, you wanna take it, like, I'm not gonna actually take it out of the pot, press it on the bottom so that this whole thing comes up, okay? Now, you gotta make sure, this is how you do this when you buy them from the store. See this? This whole thing is gonna come out. I'm gonna pull this out very, very slowly. I don't wanna get dirt all over the place. Let me do this over here. This whole thing's gonna come out like this. And I wanna grab it right by the base of the plant. This is how you do this, okay? Now, even if you buy this or you grow it yourself, okay, the whole thing's coming out, that's what I want, okay? And when I do take that out like that, I'm gonna try to get it by the bottom so that it don't destroy anything here. Okay, that fell off. But as you can see, see these roots are growing way, way around like that, okay? I'm gonna leave that on there, I'm gonna stick that back in there. I'm gonna press it down. Some of this can go back in here, but this is also gonna go in the garden, all right? You want the roots like that, but then when you finally get it out, what happens is you're gonna let's get the camera up over here. You're gonna take half the soil and you're gonna twist it off, okay? And then when you plant it, on peppers, it's really important to plant it almost exactly the same height that it was. In other words, you wanna plant it right up to this height right here, okay? That's what's gonna happen. Right now, in tomato plants, it's a little bit different. I'm gonna take this and put this away, just like this. Alright? Alright, now, in tomato plants, it's a little tiny bit different. Let me see here. I don't have a pencil or anything. Oh, I guess I'll get my knife back out. My knife is connected to my keys right at the moment. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to dig in there. Okay, I'm going to take out just one on the side here. You don't want to split the roots, but what you want to do is you want to kind of dig it up slowly. Now you can take the whole thing out. I'm not going to do that though, because as you can see, it's going to make a mess. Usually I would be doing this outside. Now let me get this one right here. This is a nice little one right here. As I said, one is cherry. There's a couple of cherries and there's a couple of beef masters in here. You want to cut down very slowly because you're cutting roots, and you're cutting roots of this plant, but you're also cutting the roots of another plant. Okay, so you take that, you always grab it down by the bottom. Okay, that's got a pretty good section of roots on it. It's a little tiny tomato plant. And this one looks like a cherry. The cherries don't have as much fuzz on them as the beef masters do. So what you're going to do, these are the original leaves where the first two ones came up. Those are not the true leaves. These are the true leaves right here. And what you want to do is you want to plant this all the way up to the top when you get it out to your garden. Now I have gigantic tomato plants grown already. They were put out there, I put them out there at the beginning of May, and first of all I heated up the soil with black plastic. And then when I waited about, probably maybe 5-6 days. And then after the soil was heated, I kept that black plastic in place. And I put the plants in there. The soil was warm enough to put the plants in there. They were buried all the way up to the tops. And now, okay, I got to put this back in here because it's getting kind of dirty, you know. You work with plants like this, and what happens is you tend to get dirt all over the place, okay. So, anyway, that's going to get buried. This whole thing, I could take this whole thing out of here. I'm not going to do that. But you push it up by the bottom like this, because you'll find, like with the peppers, you'll find that they have a lot of roots. Push it up by the bottom, hold it on its side, like this, push it out. That's how you get them out. And as you can see, there's roots sticking through there. That's a good sign. You want that, okay? Now, as soon as either today or tomorrow, these plants will be in the ground, all except for the ornamental pepper, because I want that to stay. That's got a very long growing life. I want that to stay. This is my ornamental pepper right here. This is the zucchini, and the zucchini is pretty darn good size too. In the store, I don't know what you pay for this in the stores, but it's probably $7-8 to get a plant this size. Okay, and yes, I grew all of these by seed. And one of my son-in-laws was in my yard the other day, and I said, of course you know that all of these plants everything was either grown from a tiny cutting or a seed. He goes, I know, you tell me that every time I come here. I said, well, that's okay. I keep telling you because I like saying it. So at any rate, as you can see, the cloth down here is getting kind of moisturized down here. So when I take this out, when I take the zucchini out, I'm going to make sure that I cut right in the middle here, because I want this ornamental pepper plant to, and by the way, this ornamental pepper is actually a couple of years old. It wasn't just grown this year, it was actually grown a couple of years ago. And I just keep taking the seeds and replanting the seeds. So it might have been the original plant. I doubt it. It probably was a seed off the seed, you know. So anyway, you want to cut this right down in the middle here. Leave a big chunk of soil for the ornamental pepper or whatever. If you got two of them grown in there, and then take this chunk of soil out. Take this half of soil out and put it in the ground. And always, it's really a good idea to put a plant fertilizer. Yeah, my hands are getting dirty. Put a plant fertilizer into some water, like we got right here. We got what's just pure water right here. Fertilizer or some plant fertilizer of some kind. One of the best kinds is magnesium sulfate. Those are nothing more than Epsom salts. If you have Epsom salts, you know, to soak your feet in, or you know, whatever you do with them, put a couple of crystals, or you know, like a small amount, maybe that amount, in a big cup of water, and pour it over your plants. It'll reduce the plant shock from going to a pot, to a small size, to into the garden, okay? And when you have plants that are grown on the inside, it does take them about maybe 6 to 8 days to get used to the soil, of the temperature of the soil, the changing winds, the setting of the sun, the rising of the sun. So anyway, that's, you know, you can take some of this stuff out of here. The petals to the geraniums, we can take those out. You don't have to take them out, but at any rate, folks, I want to relieve the pressure on the big zucchini plant, and I'm going to plant this. Here's the initial leaves right here. I hope you guys can see those. They're already dead, and which is what they do. Okay, that's okay. And I cut off the one leaf, which is fine. Okay. You want to plant that as much at the same height that it was growing in. In other words, if you bury it, the plant will suffocate. Now with tomato, that's different. With pepper, it's different also. You want to get them at the same height. Now marigold, okay, so a marigold, okay, I'm going to change this over here and put this one like this. A marigold, yeah, what you can do, okay, and you can see there's some dead stuff on here. That's okay, that won't make any difference. I'm just going to take a little bit of that off. And I'm not going to cut off these roots just yet, because I want to pull the whole thing out. And what I want to do is I want to separate these 3 plants. There's 4 in there. And have enough soil for each one, okay? I can take this whole thing out. I can pop the whole thing out. Now, this I'm going to pop out like this. I'm going to hold on to this. Like I did before, what you do, you should do it by the bottom. You push it up. That's the best way to do this. Because if you just grab a plant and you yank on it, let's see here. Too bad I don't have another container. Let me see. I'm going to put this one over here. See if I can't. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put some of this water back in here like this. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do this right like this. And yeah, the soil's it's gonna flop out, okay? I'm gonna have to put this back in there though. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my fingers here, see the whole thing is coming out. That's what you want, okay? Now, all of these roots, they're connected to all 4 of these plants, and eventually you can take a knife. This will make them sprout out even faster. Cut about this much off, okay? Now, since this is a demonstration, I gotta take this, I gotta put the whole thing back, and then cut these things apart this way. Go apart that way for each individual plant. But that soil's holding pretty darn good. Let me get it back in. There we go. Get it back in there. That's a good sign that the roots are thick, they're healthy, and when you buy a plant in the store, especially in a smaller container, you'll see the white roots going all the way around because they've been in that container for quite some time. And what happens is they don't get moved around, they just stay in a greenhouse setting. And I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to have to clean up this mess afterwards. And yeah, when you do this stuff, it gets pretty dirty, okay? So at any rate, one of the things that you can do, okay, that's just an old leaf, I'm going to take that out of there. It's called plant refuse. Here, let me hold it up like this. All right, so when you have plant refuse, I normally take it and I just dump it in the compost pile. All right. After you get these planted in a flower bed, in the fall, you can dig them back up again, put them back in the same pot after washing the pot out. But also what happens if you've ever seen some of these cooking shows, okay? There's a lot of places now, and Gordon Ramsay is one of them, where they actually use, here, let's come up here like this. They actually use plants in their cooking. Now, marigold, a plant like this is used to make one of the world's most effective insecticide, okay? It's called Resetrathin. And there's another one called pyrethrin, and then there's a third one that's Trisetrathin, I believe it is. Anyway, you can take the refuse, okay, this is the marigold leaves, stick it in some water, leave it for a couple of days, and put it in this water right here. Now, if I had a little jar and I put that in the jar, that would turn into, not foul smelling, but medicinal smelling insecticide. Marigolds have a natural tendency to repel bugs because the bugs land on them and they start laying their eggs and eating them, and they're going to taste insecticide and it's going to kill them, okay? But also, these little tiny leaves right here, I'm going to get this right here down, this little tiny leaf right here, hopefully you can see that, okay? That has an enormous amount of vitamin A. Now, believe it or not, let's go up here, Mr. Cameraman, let's go up here. All right, this has an enormous amount of vitamin A in it, believe it or not, and vitamin A is what we need for our eyes, okay? So, this not only becomes a health plant, it becomes a plant that people will actually, if they have a lot of marigolds, if they grow an enormous amount of them, well, for spice, they'll cut up the leaves and they'll put them in a salad. It doesn't hurt you to eat a tiny, tiny amount. Now, I'm not going to eat this, get dirt all over this, but normally, I would eat a little bit of the leaf because it really does help your eyes. It's for eye health. Believe it or not. And you don't need a whole lot. No, you don't want to eat a whole plant. Wouldn't taste good. Might make you a little sick. It is an insecticide. It's poison. I'm not saying eat poison at all. But people they have realized the benefits of eating plants, different kinds of plants for different reasons. You eat a green pepper, you put it in a salad, you stuff it, you roast it. You can put peppers in just about anything, You put them on shish kebab and all that kind of stuff. Tomatoes, a lot of people that, canned tomatoes, they do all kinds of stuff. They make tomato juice. Eat peppers with a pot roast, and green tomatoes with a pot roast. Put them in a salad, whatever. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna stick this right in there. I got dirt underneath my fingernails. And that's the way it goes. If you're a gardener, you always got dirt underneath your fingernails. So what you can do with the refuse or the plant at the end of the season, in the fall, take it, you don't put the dirt in there, but take a nice, like, fruit jar or something that closes, it's got a lid on it. Like the strawberry jam jar, all cleaned out. Put the water in there. Just set it on a shelf. Put your marigold stuff in there. I normally don't put seeds in. Some people put seeds in there, but I save the seeds for the next season. And I will grow marigolds underneath lights all winter long too as well, because a lot of times they'll bloom pretty much every month of the year. They kind of slow down a little bit in the month of November and December, but if they're underneath the lights, sometimes they don't know the difference. As a matter of fact, all the time they don't know the difference. If they do if they're outside or if they're in a window. Okay, the plants do react to that. Some plants will not react to that. Tomatoes will slow down. If you start growing underseed, from your seeds, and underneath the lights, say in a plant room that you might have, which I have low wattage lights over all my plants. They're only 2.5 watts because it saves on your electric bill. I gotta take that back a little bit. Some of them are 8.5 wattage bulbs, and if you have, say, 10 bulbs and they're 8 watts each, that's only 80 watts. That's a little bit more than a 75 watt bulb. So you keep your electric bill down, and your plants do just great. Also, I will take strands of clear or white Christmas lights because they're only 2.5 watts, and I'll just wrap it around a plant, especially on the bottom. And what it'll do is it'll create the heat that it needs. Like for peppers, they have to have a lot of different. They have to have a lot of heat. Now, for instance, to get sweet corn to germinate, what happens is you need that heat to get to send the stalks up, and then actually when they get to a certain height, about maybe 14, 16 inches tall, they don't need that heat anymore. They like their roots cold. They actually like them cold. And in other words, my grandpa used to have a saying, they like their feet warm and their heads cold. That's for sweet corn. See, it's all different. These plants are all, even though they're plants and you grow them from seed, everything is different. A marigold you can make a bunch of insecticide. You can also eat tiny amounts for your eyes, for your eye health. You get anything going on with your eyes, eat a little bit of marigold leaf, and trust me, it'll help you, okay? I do it all the time. As a matter of fact, I won't say the name of the clinic, I won't say the eye doctor's name, but at some point this person could not figure out what was going on because I was getting older and my eyes were getting better. And he said, I don't know what you're doing, but you should keep it up, but I can't talk about it because I'll be laughed out of my position, okay? So at any rate, a marigold is not the same as a zucchini or an ornamental pepper, okay? And that's not the same as a tomato, or 2 different kinds of tomatoes, or a regular Anaheim pepper, That's not the same as any of that stuff. So at any rate, the study of plants can be as diverse as anything else, as the fish in the ocean, as the animals on the land, as people. It can be, you can say, oh yeah, that's all garden vegetable plants. Well, for one thing, a marigold is not a vegetable. It's a flower. And it's used for a lot of different things. An Anaheim pepper, yeah, that's a vegetable, yeah. Ornamental pepper, not really meant to be eaten, okay? They're just nice little colorful little peppers that have, if you eat them, they're extremely hot. Yes, they might be colorful and nice to look at, but they're also extremely hot. They're not quite as hot as a ghost pepper, but they're up there. And no, I wouldn't suggest eating them, because if you've got any kind of lung problem or gastrointestinal problem, it'll flare up immediately. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. And for those of you who are having trouble with all this haze in the air from the, quote, fires in Canada and the other, whatever the other stuff is they say that's going on, eating, putting your eyeglasses on, sunglasses, that's going to protect your eyes a little bit. Wearing goggles outside, that's going to protect you. Some people say wear a mask outside. I can't wear a mask. I just get way too hot. It's too hard for me. And so, but keeping your windows closed, you know, that's kind of hard to do unless you have air conditioning. And also, you know, it's well worth your while to protect your eyes. As you get older, people have these eye afflictions that come along. And, you know, that's not good. That's bad. People get macular degeneration. I gotta watch my time here. I'm almost out of time. They get, glaucoma. Those are the only two I can think of right now. But doing stuff for your eyes as you get older is really a good idea, because you can go to the eye doctor as much as you want. As a matter of fact, go to your doctors. Do this stuff. Eat your aloe vera. Take a tiny bit of marigold leaf. Eat that once a day. That's tremendous amounts of vitamin A. Aloe vera has tremendous amounts of vitamin A in it too. Do that for yourself. Do it for your own. Do it for your own good, your own self. Do it for your own pleasure, even your displeasure. Do it for your own health. If you take a product like Balance of Nature, that's got aloe vera in it too. It's one of the first fruit. Well, it's not a fruit. It's a leaf. It's not really a vegetable either. People don't consider it a vegetable, even though they'll make a dessert out of it. And at any rate, do that for yourself. Don't do it because I say so. Don't do it because Bobby Butts for Life says so, or because some guy on TV or the radio says so, like Larry Elder, who does Relief Factor, which I understand is a very good product. It's got a lot of sulfur in it, sulfurs that we need. And do it for yourself. Find out what you need. Find out what's going on with yourself. Go to your doctor. Ask them, well, what's going on, you know. And if they say, well, maybe psychological, go and do your own research. That's what I do constantly. That's why I am the professional gardener that I am. That's why I was on Wisconsin Public Radio for a number of years and had my own gardening shows on TV and radio for a number of years. That's why I teach gardening classes to community education classes. That's why I am a fair and flower judge anywhere in the United States, because I do my own research. And yes, I have the degrees to back it up, but I've done my own research. Okay, until next time, be green and remember, it's not work, it's fun. FRASER Family Foundation, we're working on a lot of stuff, as we always are. The summer's been very, very busy, so we no longer have the telephone number. Our number actually got bought out by AT&T, believe it or not. It's a long story, and we're really mad about it. We didn't like it. We were not able to keep it after having it for many, many years. The only thing that's the same is the P.O. Box. It's FFF of America, P.O. Box 2125, Wausau, Wisconsin 54402. FRASER Family Foundation of America. I'm Master Gardener Bernie Delaney. Until next time, be green and remember, it's not work. It's fun. Have a lot of fun out there. Don't get overheated, but have a lot of fun. Bye-bye.